the thing is, it's all very well that we grow all these amazing plants with Chelsea, but there is a great deal of my effort and everything is the sustainability of it. You know, I could talk for a very long time about the sustainability of why, you know, what the reasons for not having Chelsea Flower Show in Chelsea. Partly is bringing all the people into London and the buses and the infrastructure and everything. I mean, what you've got to understand is Chelsea Flower Show to build costs millions. Not talking about hundreds of thousands, it's millions. And it is only for 6 days, of which 5 days is for the public to see. In my mind, you know, you have all these designers, excluding ourselves, but the designers who create all these amazing gardens. And those gardens would be brilliant if you could actually then carry those on through the season. I mean, in France, where they have garden, it's a show there. They have a show in France, it escapes my mind, and it exhibits for 6 months minimum, I think. And it means then the designers actually have to not just make it look good for that 5 days or 6 days at Chelsea, but they have to make it good. And they get budgets to then retitulate the garden a bit more during that period. So you do sort of 3 uplifts of planting and changing things around, which would be so much better because then people could get to see the garden throughout the whole year and get a better idea as to how things work. But anyway, as I said, that's something that I feel that we ought to be looking at for the future. But as far as all the plant material that we have on the stand, that we collect at the end of the show and it all gets distributed. If we don't actually end up using it, it will either come back here to Kelways, they'll then put it back out to, or if it's in good enough condition, they'll put it back out to retail trade, or I'll just simply say, let's hold it because I've got another project that's coming on. So everything, as far as I'm concerned, gets reused. And as for Blue Forest, again, very much sustainability there because the building and the structure is going to be relocated to somebody else's garden. So effectively, you know, there's very little, I mean, apart from the ground surface, that doesn't get sort of recycled in some shape or form, which is critical in this day and age. Everything comes back. So, yeah, it would have to come back here because it's been sort of like stressed out, well not stressed, it did come out back after 6-7 days, but then we have to break the show down really quickly. So the plants sort of not quite getting potted up as they should do, so they come back here and then you sort of give them obviously a bit of a facial. A refresher before they go out. And you bear in mind what you're growing for Chelsea, you're always growing 50% more in case, you know. So I've been looking around here and I think, well, I could do about at least 3 gardens at Chelsea with all the plants we've chosen. But you know, when it comes to the moment, as I said, we're going to come down here, actually select the numbers of plants we want, because what I don't want to do is end up having too many trolley loads of plants that we then send them back down again. So yeah, there's a fair amount of work and effort that has to go into what we end up creating. What have we got? 22nd of May, isn't it? 22nd of May. They'll be starting to stay, and also they start, you remember in Chelsea, it's 3 weeks prior to the flower show. They actually start building, but they have already been building the prefabrication of a lot of it, probably months. And some of the plant material, as we said, is probably a year or more in the process. When you're designing the show gardens, it normally takes 2 years from the initial concept design, which you then submit to the RHS. They then say, yeah, we like it, and then they designate which stand, which area of Main Avenue you're going to be working in. So there's a long process. So people who do Chelsea have to have, they need stamina. Lots of it.
Yeah, that's why Simon does it.
Being that we have a treehouse, treehouses you more often not associated being obviously in a tree, in a forest maybe, but definitely in shade. So a lot of the plant material that we've actually chosen are shade tolerant, albeit Chelsea it's not going to have. Well, we've got trees, but I mean you can never create a whole environment. But Simon, tell us a bit about the more interesting species that we've got.
Yeah, well, I think definitely one of them is Macdenia
to the foliage is quite low to the ground, but the flowers do tend to tower over them. The other one, which is one of my favourite, which I didn't know till a couple of years ago, is the Himalayan lily, which interestingly enough, it takes, I believe it's 5 to 7 years from seed to flower. So you've got to grow the plant for the actual crown, for at least 5 or 6 years to even stand a chance of having a flower. So
we've only grown 100 in order to get 3 flowers.
Well, it's something ludicrous like that, but yeah, you've got to really sort of risk it and just hope that a few of them will do it. Because again, even though some of them may be a bit older, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that they'll flower. Because again, depending on the conditions and everything. And the other one is the big ferns that you've got as well, which I think will really bring out that characteristic of being in a somewhat natural woodland. And again, with staple things like you know, the Euphorbia robias we've got over there. I think that's really it. I mean, really, those are the two that stand out for me anyway.
Yeah. Well, we got a huge amount.
Sorry?
A huge amount.